when you have a calculator that's putting trades on the chart for you, it cannot think for itself. But you, a trader, if you understand the strategy and how it's constructed and what the pieces are and how they work together, you can think for yourself. You got exhaustion dots, you got your line marking the end of a reaction move, you have a possible subsequent action move, you got price pushing down, closing below the balance line, you got a formula that you can use to create targets. Look at target 4 and look at where the price ended up going. Target 3, same thing. I mean, it hit it right on the nail. I always encourage everyone to really learn what the strategy is about, because it'll just make you better with it. Same trade on unleaded. I mean, without even opening up the chart, you can see the action move down, the reaction into the 20 SMA, and then your setup down. Missed target 2 barely, and now it's hitting it, even though the stop took it out of the trade. That's a money management technique that the pure setup is working great. And the only difference between this and the one on the Russell is where the 3 dots are. They're close enough to the line. But it's the same setup. It's the same everything. You can see it on crude oil, I think, as well. Got the big action move down, the move up into the line here. It's a little less conspicuous. But this setup here is based on these 3 dots here, these, which are close enough, which gives you the subsequent action move. So Vicky just asked an interesting question as far as there's a balance between proximity. A lot depends on volatility. I mean, I've seen it where the dots are like 10 ticks away and it sets up great, but that's when the markets have a lot more volatility. So the proximity of the exhaustion dots to the line does not self-adjust. That would be a real interesting development. Artificial intelligence that could think for itself based on some algorithm, maybe an average true range or something like that, where the proximity of the dots actually self-adjusts based on market volatility. That's a really unique idea, which doesn't exist at the moment. So right now we just have to kind of choose what should the proximity be, and 4 ticks seems to be a good number. But if you understand the setup, you could always override it and manually draw the trade. And I showed you how I use the fib line retracement tool like I did right here. I've got it programmed for spotlight targeting, so it's really easy. I have a hotkey that snaps to the correct bars, the highest point of the 3 dots and the low of the setup bar, and then it draws the trade. It's really nice how it does that. But you could also do a real simple thing. There's a few more steps. So if you've got like a charting software that doesn't allow you to draw the fib line retracement, I'm not sure if you could do it with Ninja, but you could easily do a similar idea if you just take a horizontal line and draw it across the high of the highest point of those 3 bars, and draw another horizontal line across the low of the setup bar, wherever that setup bar is. In this case, it's here. It's down, and then you can just move that down, and there's your 1x. You see? Like that. And then you could use that to measure the proper targeting. So it's another way to do it, like so. So all the way down at the bottom is 2x, right there. Now if I go ahead and draw that trade, you'll see how well that works. So 1x, 1.5x, 2x, 2.5x, 3x, basically. You have to necessarily do it like this, but that's just a way to use, you create a measuring stick, basically. Because that trade idea exists. It just doesn't exist within the parameters we've got set up in the calculator that has no ability to think for itself. So your 3 dots are 2 ticks further away from the line, and instead of drawing lines, a lot depends on how much time you have, but another thing you can do is just open up the calculator, jump down to that input, which is down here, dots to moving average, and I know it's 6, but maybe you don't know, so make it 8 and give it a lot of room, and then just hit OK, and now all of a sudden it draws the trade for you. See? So that's a change the input in your calculator really fast. It's probably the easiest thing to do. Easier and faster than drawing the trade. I don't know. I mean, for me, this is pretty easy. Just to grab my tool with a hotkey and draw it, that's pretty easy. Oops. Numerous ways to use the setup. There's nothing that says you can't use your calculator on the fly and make a change to quickly give you the trade setup that you want just by changing an input. Because another thing you can do is actually have two calculators on the trade. In other words, on the chart. You can have one calculator that has for your proximity and another calculator that uses the default of 4. Format analysis technique. And you could toggle off one, and the other one you could even label it big dots or whatever, big proximity. You could have two calculators. You could toggle one off and toggle one on. So that's another idea. So many different ways to use the tools, right? Creative thinking. All right, well, the crude oil report's getting ready to start here in a little while, so I think I'll take a quick pause and get ready to do that.